Hi, my name is Celine and welcome to my channel. Coping with life and how do we navigate current times? That's the topic I want to talk about today. I think we all feel and know and see that, it's a challenging time. It has been for quite a while. We're nearing the end of the year. It does feel like everything, I think, is intensifying in the world and individually. And I've just noticed that. I've noticed it in myself. I've noticed it in people I've met or spoken to, and just, I think, all around the world. I mean, we're all experiencing it in different ways and at different times. But there's no doubt that it is a challenging time and causing a lot of stress and anxiety for people. So today I want to offer you some solutions, some tools, some tips based on my own experience and, how I've navigated other challenging times and how they really are standing to me now, what I have learned and what has shifted and changed in me. And it doesn't really matter, I think, what the specifics of the challenge are. We'll all experience different things, but, the principles and the understandings that we come to can be applied, in every aspect of our life. So I speak to you from the perspective of having, I suppose, experienced my own challenges. That the most recent was cancer back in 2016. I talk about it often because it was my big wake-up call. I had many more before that. I went through a very difficult marriage separation when I was quite young. I struggled with anxiety, addiction, stress, burnout, depression, all of those things that I would never have sort of put that label on myself. I'm not big into labels, but I don't label myself with them, but there were things I experienced at different stages. And the ultimate big wake-up call then was cancer. And that's when my perspective shifted. And so it's from there and what I learned from that I want to talk to you today. And I hope that by sharing, I know we have to go through our own experiences, but in sharing mine, and what has shifted and what I do and have done helps me, when I come up. Because even though I do feel very anchored in my life now, I feel in a very, I still get, all the ups and downs like everyone else, but I can come back more quickly than I used to be able to, or I'd nowhere to go before. But now I can find my center and sort of my power and navigate and get through things. Still doesn't mean I still experience pain, emotions, ups and downs, but it's from a different place. And I suppose the big shift that happened to me, I was just thinking about it with cancer, was that everything I suppose I thought I was or relied on suddenly collapsed. So my life and my world as I knew it just literally, it disintegrated. I fell through a hole in the ground. I had nothing to hold on to. So everything I believed I was gone. So I had no choice but to, I did sort of, I didn't make that decision or, within me that, I was looking to something greater. I had always felt that in my life, but I very consciously, in a strange way, in getting cancer, it brought meaning into my life because nothing else had made any sense. And this sort of was, oh yeah, I understand now, because that's why I was feeling the way I was. So that was a big part of it, that I was ready, I suppose, to see that my life was not working the way that it had been. And the big shift that took place, I would say, for me, as opposed to any other challenge I had been through, is that I was opened up to this whole other dimension or aspect of myself that I had never really got to know. And it's the spiritual aspect of my life and the spiritual dimension. And what do I mean by that? Because it can mean, people can interpret this differently. How I felt it and experienced it was, and still do, was that when I could no longer keep going, which I couldn't. And I remember driving in the car one day going, Now, this was after my diagnosis going, you can't control any of this anymore. You can't control life. Something in me, I could literally, it's like I took my hands off the steering wheel. It was the strangest feeling. I've never jumped out or done a parachute jump, but I can only imagine it's a bit like that. I've literally felt like I just let go and jumped. And I was like, oh, this panic, and then suddenly this peace. It just something held me. I felt held. I still had no idea where I was going, what was going on, what was going to happen. It wasn't about that. It wasn't about getting all those answers. I just knew I was held. And that to me was me getting in touch or connecting with that spiritual energy, that life force that's in all of us, that powers us all. Keeps our breath going, it keeps everything growing, just that energy that powers every aspect of life and of nature. And I heard someone describe it, I like to think of it this way. If you think of your physical body as the light bulb, and then the life force, the energy that we all feel, going through us, is like our spiritual electricity. And what can happen, for many, probably for a lot of my life, I was very disconnected from it. Didn't really, who does? When life is going well, we power away and we don't think too much about it. But it's when our other, maybe, what would you say, our abilities or our aspects of us not let us down, but they've been overused, or they need to sometimes go into the background so that we then really get to see who we're really made of, and what is it that's sort of powering us, and who are we really? We are this beautiful energy. It's a remembrance. That's how I describe it, and it's really, we access it through. So what I was seeing, and it's been a work in progress, is that this is accessed through our heart. So this energy, a lot of my life, I was very cut off from it. Like if you had told me this 5 or 6 years ago, I'd be like, I don't understand what you're talking, nearly I don't understand what you're talking about, because I don't feel it. I would have felt, very, very difficult to sort of connect with it. So everything had to be taken away so that this is what was left and this is what I could access. And I know for me why I probably as well it was difficult, and I think for most of us, is that we often, our hearts are very shut down. We access this energy through our heart. That I think the electromagnetic field of the heart is 60 times more powerful than the brain. So that gives you a good sense. But because of circumstances in our life, being hurt, experiences, things we don't process, our heart is often closed. My heart was closed for years, I think. It was just a way of protection. But then I was sort of cutting myself off from that energy and that beautiful aspect of myself, and how you connect with it then is through your intuition. You cannot hear your intuition if your heart is closed down, because that's where it's coming from. It's not from the mind. So that was a big, and I really feel that's where we are right now. This everything has to be nearly taken away from us externally, that we have to go within and connect with this part of us. And I just want to read you a little line. It's from a book that I really like, Wayne Dyer's There's a Spiritual Solution to Every Problem. He's a lovely little description of describing that aspect of ourselves. And he says, like a drop of water separated from its source, the little mind, the ego mind, is unable to create and sustain life. That's definitely what I found. When the drop of water rejoins the ocean, it has all the powers of its source. So that's, that to me is what it is. It was like reconnecting, dropping into the ocean. That's what it. That was the power of that happening. And as I said, I really feel for all of us now. This is why we're all being squeezed again. This squeeze goes on. I had the squeeze through cancer. There's another layer of a squeeze, because often we have to go into that really intense place where it gets so difficult that we just have to let go and then see that we're held. And I would say to you, if you're watching this and are like, I don't know, what does that mean and how do I access it? I would just say, firstly, I'll talk a little bit about that, but how, just to maybe, I would say, please do be open to this aspect of yourself. This, you are so much more powerful than you believe you are. There is nothing to fear. We have been conditioned to believe for so many years that we don't have any power. But I can say for sure we do. We have everything. The only place we find the peace and the calm and the love that we crave is inside. So I think that's really, really what is happening to us all right now on the planet. And once, we can only do this, there's no answer in this outside. We all have to come and do it with, do our own work within. And I will just take you through a few steps that I think I focus on. I do my best to focus on right now. And I do think everything that's going on in the world and the fear, and it's getting greater and greater and greater, is going to keep getting greater until we come back into that place in ourselves and we see that there is nothing to fear. Because those circumstances only have power over us as long as, we play into that. So I think the answer collectively, like we as a collective create the collective experience in the world, that's the power we have. We're really powerful creators. We're not victims, even if we don't know it, So everything that we're seeing has been created collectively. But the only way I feel that we can sort of, this can be how we overcome and deal with this is by going within. And once we clear our own individual shadows and issues, then that starts and connect to that power inside of us, then that we'll start to see that in the world. So I would say particularly this at the end of the year, it is a quiet sort of reflective period, even though I know for anyone who celebrates Christmas, it's a nice, lovely time as well. But it is a quiet time. We're in winter. So I would say the first thing, and something I'm very mindful of now, is to focus on your own work process, your own, inner world, what's going on in there. And anything that's coming up, I think for a lot of people, anxiety, stress, worry, fear, whether it's, just within yourself, fear of what's going on in the world, work, relationships, anything, whatever is coming up now, and it'll be different for each of us, is looking for your attention. And in coming up, it's saying, I'm ready to be dealt with, to be felt, to leave. You're strong enough. And, it's really, really powerful work, and it's really important work. And I would just say, don't miss this opportunity. Say it to myself too. Very easy to distract ourselves and want to go outside, but this is really powerful, because my experience has been, if we keep trying to bypass or push some of these painful things that we don't want to feel, they come back, and they come back louder. It happened to me, if I look back year and year and year, and then we just go, oh my God, life is so painful. But it isn't really designed, I don't think, to be that painful. It's just when we resist and distract, it's going to keep getting louder. So I would say this is an opportunity. The backdrop, I would say, to everything, if you can in your life, and I try to do it now with everything, and it has been my perspective since cancer, is that life is always happening for me, not to me. And that is how I felt about cancer and about everything, every challenge. So if that can be the backdrop, and you can say to yourself, well, what if life was happening for me? If I was to take that view, even if I don't feel it, well then, what would I do? Like, if all of this that's coming up, and anxiety and stress, what if that is for me? Well then, what is it trying to tell me? What does it want me to do? And, when you go inside, you'll start to see that, it really wants to be felt. When you sit with anything like this, it's every everything part of us that has been suppressed and pushed down just wants to be acknowledged, it wants to be felt, it wants to be heard, and it will leave, always leaves. I suppose the temptation, and it's the one thing I would say is, and it's interesting how the world has got more and more, it's getting more and more closed down again. It's like any opportunity to go out and distract is being taken away from us, because we're being told this is the time, this work has to be done. This won't end until we come back into our power and into, away from the fear and knowing that we are love and that we have everything we need inside. And that's why I think this time is so important. And I think a lot of people are now, there's less places to go anyways, but most of us are spending more time in quiet and, indoors. And I think that's good, because as we are all going through our challenges, what can happen is, if we do go out and try and distract, we're all triggering each other. Everybody's projecting, nothing gets resolved. It just, we end up carrying other people's stuff or they carrying ours, and we're just in this vicious cycle. And, I do think if we, as hard as it is, we have to grow up and take responsibility for our own shit, basically, and whatever's coming up. It's painful, but we can do it. If it's coming up, it's ready. And I think the time of us, as I've done it as myself, not intentionally often, but this projecting, like, it's difficult enough often to do our own work and deal with our own issues, and we don't know what anyone else is going through, but we can't carry anyone else's and we can't process anyone else's. So I think just in looking after yourself, it's definitely a time to give yourself that time to go inwards at this time of year. Obviously, as well, it's a time for maybe meeting family or friends, just to be we don't always have a choice, but to be conscious of, who the company you keep and what you do and where you go, if that is part of, what you'll be doing around this time of year. It's really important that you absolutely, it is your, what would I say, prerogative, or we owe this to ourselves, to be around people who align with us, who make us feel good, who lift us up, and just, it's very easy energetically to be pulled down, and nobody really needs that right now. So as much as possible, just to be very conscious of the company you keep and the surroundings you're in, because it's really about self-care. And an interesting thing happened to me as well during the week. Last week I had lots of different plans to do different things, and I did do a certain number of them, but I ended up one of them wasn't planned, but I ended up having 2 major sort of healing sessions, and they were both amazing and both not what I really thought I needed, but I did need. So that was me again. I had a big release, one sort of an emotional release, and again I just let it go, and I felt really much lighter, exhausted, but much lighter afterwards. So that's the work, I really feel that's what we are all, isn't it what they say, sometimes things have to get worse before they get better, and I think that's what's happening in the world. The less, the more that we go in, remember who we are, and really connect with that really powerful life force and energy and nature, or connect to our source, the fear leaves. The fear, I have to say, despite everything that has gone on in the world, I really don't have any fear, and I would have lived a very fearful life. And I think as a humanity, when we're all in that place, life will be great. And it is despite everything, but I think we're on the verge of something really amazing. But we have to go through this period and not bypass what we need to do. So I wish that for you this time of year, that you honor yourself in that, you give yourself the space, you're gentle, you're compassionate with others, compassionate with yourself, and really just, take it very easy. And in terms of just, sitting and being, the other thing I'd say is this work isn't easy. It takes a lot of courage to sit with your pain. I know it, I've done it, and whoa, I've done it sometimes long time back, some really major stuff, but it still will come up, but it passes. And the prize is then as we process and let go of this pain, as our heart gets, opens more, then we've more access to this amazing infinite energy source. We feel love, we feel, with no fear. It's just beautiful, and that is the prize. So yes, it takes courage, it can be uncomfortable, but it's about growing and stretching, and in all of that, what I felt is then my intuition grows, so I know I have all the answers. You do have all the answers. We all have all the answers inside. This is not an intellectual exercise. This is, coming into your truth is really only through the heart. And that's where you find your stability and your contentment and your peace. So the more you do it, this channel, I think like you call it your energetic channel, with your source really clears, and it just gets greater and greater and greater, and you get more grounded in it. And then no one will be able to tell you, anything, in a way. You'll just know it's your truth. You won't be looking to anyone else, and you'll be free. That is the prize. You are free. So I will leave you on that note. I just hope that you give yourself the time this Christmas period, but in general, and honor that part of yourself, that amazing person and being that you are. And the prize is freedom. The prize is your sovereignty. You're this divine being that is everything you need. And it grows and it grows. We don't have to understand it all at the beginning. We just start by letting go. By letting go, this little crack, and then, we do start to do the work, and the prize is amazing. I want to finish on another line from, I think, an English poet, William Blake. Sums up to me when you do all this work and clear. He says, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. And that is the prize to me. Once you go there, it's you clearly see the truth of who you are, and you know it, and you feel it, and you are it. So yes, I will leave you on that note. I hope that helps you during this time, and in any challenging time. You do have everything you need. You really do within, and you will always be held, always. The universe just will always bend over backwards to support you when you take that step and jump out of the plane, and then you go into free fall and you're held. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll finish by just reminding you that my guide, 6 Signs You're Getting a Spiritual Wake-Up Call, is available to download, and that talks through, I mentioned that at the beginning, cancer was one of mine, along with a lot of other wake-up calls, but that can be the start of an amazing journey in your life. And also, if you like my content, I'd love if you hit the like and subscribe button, and share a comment or any feedback. That would greatly appreciate it. And lovely to connect with you, and I look forward to talking to you again on the next video. So thank you. Bye.